So now that we have our mustard in, we're going to add the sweet element, which is going to be honey. You could add maple syrup, you could add any other sweetener at this point that you would like. You don't even have to add honey or anything at this point if you didn't want to, if you wanted to skip that. Although I think if you're going to make a good vinaigrette, add a little sweetness. It's kind of that umami of the whole vinaigrette. You could add your citrus juice at this point. We have a beautiful orange that we're going to add into this as well. In addition to the sweetness, the honey gives it the viscosity, so it thickens it up a little bit. It makes it really nice, just as a textural element as well. This honey is the honey that I got from Steve Jobs. It was from his family farm, and this is just a wildflower honey. At the time, he was in Atherton, and so not a buckwheat honey, it's not a dark honey, it's a very light honey. I'm assuming wildflower honey, maybe some orange blossom in there. Very mild, very light. You don't want anything really heavy that's going to overpower the vinaigrette, so just keep everything pretty mild. So that the key to this is that you just want that really nice, beautiful addition, accent, kind of accompaniment to the fresh vegetables. You don't want the vinaigrette to be so powerful that you just can't taste individually each element of the salad. You still want to be able to have each vegetable be represented without having an overwhelming vinaigrette that just takes it into one complete, just drowned out note rather. So just keep that in mind when you're creating your salads, is keep it light, keep it fresh, and you can build a lot of flavors that are very light flavors that make a really beautiful, complex in its own right vinaigrette, but simple at the same time. So we'll go ahead and add our honey to the mustard, the whole grain mustard seed, and I generally add about equal parts, and I would say, if I had to guess, about 2 tablespoons of each at this point. So you have your beautiful honey and the mustard. It's so pretty. And then I just use a whisk and just incorporate those two together. And then at this point, if you wanted to add your citrus, I'm going to add a little bit of orange. These are little olives from my olive tree that we just planted, and I'm going to try to cure some of them. I thought they would look really nice with the salad. I want to talk about olives a little bit. And a beautiful organic California olive ranch locally that they have the best olives. So we'll go ahead and get our orange. This is half of an orange. I cut it in half, and then I put half of the segments in the salad. And so we're going to use just half for the juice in the vinaigrette. And of course, it's obviously easier if you use a juicer at this particular stage. But I like to make my life as complicated as possible, so I skipped that whole part. Okay, so beautiful. So we have our orange juice, our mustard seed, and our honey at this point. And so it's starting to get more liquid, so it broke up that the thickness of the honey. And just give that a good stir just to incorporate everything together. And so now we are going to add, and you can do this in varying order depending on how you like to do things, but this is just how I do it in no particular order. I add just a little bit of the salt now, and I'm using it's a very coarse sea salt. So when you grab that, I'll just do a pinch or two and kind of break it up in my fingers to go into that. And then the same with the pepper. I use a whole black peppercorn and put that into the grinder. Do it fresh if you can. It really does add. It makes a difference being fresh. You can really taste that nice spicy cracked pepper in there when you do it. When you do it fresh, when you're going to use it right away. At this point, so this is kind of a basic base, right? So from here you can add rosemary, you can add chili, you can add dried herbs and spices, you can add your fresh herbs, which we're going to do now. And so since we have the orange in there, orange and rosemary are a beautiful combination, so I'm going to use a little bit of rosemary in this vinaigrette. And then just because I have it and I love it so much, and it really does go well with orange, is I have some Thai basil. So we're going to take the leaves off the Thai basil, and then to finish on top of the salad, I have the Thai basil flowers, and this adds so much fresh flavor to the top. You just get a little bite of it, and oftentimes somebody will say, "What is that?" It's so different. It's so neat. Adds just such a really special flavor to the salad. And not a lot of people use the whole herb. If you grow the whole herb, you can use the whole herb, the stem, the flowers, all the way to the base is edible. And a lot of times people will waste the stems on the herbs. There's so much purpose to the whole plant as it was intended. So we've got basil, Thai basil, rosemary. I'm going to add a little bit of I think some lemon thyme and regular thyme, and then we'll get those all chopped up and put that into the vinaigrette here. I know that I picked some fresh thyme, and I'm wondering if the chickens got up here and took it out of my bowl, as they have been known to do. Okay, here we go. So with the thyme, you just want to take it right off the stem. It comes off pretty easily. Some people like to fry the leaves and then use the thyme that way, and it's good that way as well. It just has a different flavor profile. I like to use it fresh just like this. Oh, another great herb would be tarragon, because tarragon and orange go really well together. With tarragon, you just want to use a little bit. A little bit goes a long way, kind of like nutmeg. So just be careful if you're going to use tarragon. It has that really strong anise, like a licorice fennel flavor, and you don't want to overdo it. Again, you just want to keep it really light and simple. We're just going to give it a coarse chop. This does not have to be, minced up into a fine dice by any means. In fact, it's a lot easier on the herb when you just do it really a really coarse chop like that. You don't want to bruise the herbs, and some of these bruise more easily than others. Basil certainly. And so we're just going to put our herbs in at this point. You can put your herbs in after you use your oil if you'd like. It's so beautiful. Look at the herbs and the mustard and the vinegar in there with a little bit of honey. So at this point, we are going to add, you could add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which I think I have my apple cider vinegar here somewhere, but I may not have brought it out. In any case, so I'll skip the apple cider vinegar because we've got the orange in there, and that's our acid, and you really don't need to add any more. If you wanted to, you could add apple cider vinegar or rice wine vinegar at this point. Both are equally very nice with all these flavors. But in any case, for improvising, we'll skip it at this point. Talking about olive oil just a minute, there are so many different types of oil now, and for vinaigrettes you want to use a very mild olive oil. Biryani, this is a local extra virgin olive oil from California, here locally actually, and it's just very neutral, and that's what you want. You don't want something really heavy. You wouldn't want to use something like this. This is another local Cape Valley olive oil, but the Arbequina, this is a very heavy olive, and so it's got a really peppery and forward, almost bitter flavor. And so when you taste your vinaigrette, that's the first thing that you're going to taste, and you don't really want that. There are some applications where you may want that, when maybe there's a really heavy fruit or grilled vegetable salad, but for this salad, just a basic vinaigrette, you want to just use a mild extra virgin olive oil, and that's what this is here. So we've got our honey, our mustard, our orange juice in there, and our fresh herbs. So you can I like to add just a tablespoon or two. You don't need that much oil. You don't want that much oil because you really just want to taste the flavor of the herbs and the crunchy mustard seeds with the nice sweet honey in there, and then the herbs that we've put in are pretty strong herbs, so their flavor is going to go a long way too. So I would just put a couple tablespoons, and you can give it a good whisk, give it a good stir. If you wanted a thicker vinaigrette, you could certainly whisk it so that it would get a lot thicker. But for our purposes for today, I like to keep it thin because then you can drizzle it, easier, and it doesn't stick too thick onto the herbs. If you're using a heavier lettuce, a romaine, then I would say you could get away with using a thicker vinaigrette. But for lighter greens like baby greens and spinach and arugula and microgreens and such along those lines, which we're using today, then just keep it simple and keep it light. And so this is a good time to taste your vinaigrette. Oh, that's so good. Really simple. So you start with your mustard. You can use Dijon or whole grain. Add your honey, salt and pepper, your herbs, and a couple tablespoons of olive oil. The citrus juice, the orange juice in this case we used, or you can use the apple cider vinegar. Again, the same amount, 3 or 4 tablespoons of the acid. And I'll include the recipe for the simple vinaigrette, and so you can have something to reference. But this is it. It's so simple, so easy to do, and it's really so flavorful and beautiful. And so all you have to do at this point is put your salad together.